All right, chat. Okay, we are here. We have, I think we're successfully streaming at this point, so sounds good. Welcome, welcome, welcome. First stream ever by myself as well, so, you know, I do apologize if it isn't the most riveting content, but if you've been following along, we're just going to go ahead and kind of do a little bit of behind the scenes work here for some of the stuff we've been looking at, the next series and whatnot. I want to see how I can get the live chat going. Oh, hello, hello, hello. I don't know how many. OnDev, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm trying to see how do I get... There we go. Okay, can I minimize this without... I don't know how. I don't know how I can get the chat to stay up there. Let's see. I need the chat. Let's see if I can add a source here. This is definitely not part of the... Definitely not part of the stream. That's a little upsetting. I'd love to see the chat. Otherwise, I gotta keep flipping back and forth. I can't see it. New video's on its way. New video's on its way. Let's see where we're at. So we're looking at... This looks hopefully somewhat familiar, but not necessarily... Android here. So let's go ahead and run this, and I'll show you what I've been working on. Yeah, okay, so that is right. We do have Jetpack Compose for desktop here. So if anyone was following along to one of the previous channels, one of the previous episodes or seasons, we made that Rick and Morty application, right? Android app, and eventually publish it to the store and all that good stuff. This time around, I was like, let's just go ahead and build this thing again, but I wanted to use some new technologies and new tools and all that kind of stuff. So we're actually inside of a Compose for desktop kind of application here. So we have, I think this is the root. No. Yeah, here we are. The main function. Application, have a little bit of Moshi and coin set up here, but then there's a window right here, a couple configuration here so that, you know, just the window looks the way that it does, and then we simply call our composable here that is called app, and then inside here we have everything that we're looking for here. So we have, you know, our nav items. Let's see, which one is selected? I forget how I exactly manage that. Alright, so then we pop them into a nav bar, and then we just have our box here. It is a row, so if we take a look at this, right, we have our nav bar item here. This is laid out as a row, and then there is this content area basically. And as we are changing these elements around here, or clicking different things in the nav, we can kind of see that there are different, you know, pages that we end up seeing. So the idea here is we can completely change the, you know, have a character list here, have an episode list. I like this one too because with the power of Compose, it's so nice to make multiple different, or sorry, like that whole dynamic UI sense, right? So this, to me, kind of screams like, all right, if you had selected a particular character and then the character details are over here, right? Kind of like an inbox thing, you know, if you have that set up on your Gmail and whatnot, you can kind of see all your emails here, and then you can see your selected one over here. The beauty of Compose too is that like it just kind of starts, you know, scaling as you change this window and all that stuff. So I'm not worried too much about this reactive design, but it is really nice that it just like kind of happens outside the box for you. Cool. Stream works. I gotta flip back and forth here to get to get the chat here. So let's see. Do you think desktop app clean Kotlin is possible? Yes, without Compose, or better with Compose? It's definitely better with Compose. Part of me really likes the Compose like mentality, or like part of me likes the Compose just because if we ever wanted to transition it into an Android app, or if we had, multiple Android apps and you kind of had this library of components built out, you can kind of take those, you just take those components out of your Android app, pop them into your, desktop app, or vice versa, right? We end up building something out here that's pretty cool. We could take this nav bar and like bring it somewhere, which is cool. Yash, Madi, welcome guys. Welcome to the stream. I kicked it off a tiny bit early. It was my first stream, so I just wanted to kind of figure out all the ins and outs and how everything works. But I'm so happy that you guys are following along. What's up, Sebastian? Thank you, my guy. Thank you for popping in. Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, so for those who just joined, kind of thinking about the Android app version of this. If you saw on season 6, I don't even remember. Let's see, where was that? That was, yeah, season 6 here. That Rick and Morty Android MVVM app. That was a really good series. Taught a lot of pretty good concepts there. It was not in Compose, but it was pretty solid for the content, especially for myself. Some of the earlier content that I made. But that was called Simple Morty, I believe, was the name of the app. So this time around, I went with a Simple Rick, and we're just going to go ahead and continue building out the, basically working with the same API. So if you followed that, series, you'll be quite familiar with it. I think the API is out here. It's pretty straightforward. Let me just drop this. Oh, here, I'll go to the docs for you. I'll just drop this into the chat because, I'm a really good streamer now. If you're interested in it, that's kind of the documentation that we're working off of. And it's pretty straightforward. It's really nice. It's really clean. We worked with it on the app side, and then for this desktop Compose, it's basically the same. So it's pretty familiar, which is great. Taking a look at some chat here. Technical interview in a week. Any suggestions for me? Hello, your favorite Android content creator. Hey Vlad, how you doing? Okay, Madi, can you explain a little more about what you have there in the technical interview? I could probably help you out. Like, what's the is it an Android role? Is it an entry level role? Is it not an entry level role? Feel free to share any additional info, and I can kind of provide some more insight there. But I think one of the interesting things, and I'll get back to you, Maddie. Don't worry if you drop anything in there. One of the interesting things about this project, though, is that we're using, we're using Coin and we're using Ktor, which is pretty cool. Yes, we could use Retrofit. Yes, I think we could still use not Dagger, but Hilt. But instead, I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and just do Coin instead. Just kind of learn a little bit of a different library here. So where should we start? I think so. Ktor will get you the networking, the network client here. Let me see. I've got to bounce around to this. Yeah, Ktor was very straightforward, to be honest, to implement it. I think this is really all you needed. Content negotiation. We're talking about how we're going to have JSON here, so we have, we have a little bit of like a JSON builder that we can go ahead and configure. Ignore unknown keys, true, which is really helpful, and then just a little bit of logging as well. I think they have this idea here, yeah, so within the HTTP client, they have this, like, it's really a function, but it feels like, yeah, it feels like a little configuration or like a plugin block, and you just call install and you pass in whatever it is that you're interested in. So here we're installing some content negotiation. If you wanted to, this one is specific to JSON. If you had XML, if you had, just like a different structure of the data that you're working with, I'm pretty sure you can configure this whole install block here. And then here we have, install our logging. We install our default logging, log level body, and then next thing you know, this client is ready to go with Ktor. So I think actually using it, yeah, I tried to get fancy here, but what was real nice is when we take a look at the actual call site here, right? So this is a suspend function inside of a repository. I know we're not in Android, but I did try to mimic things in the sense of like had a repository, maybe even build out a view model, that kind of stuff. But basically here we have a suspend function, fetch character by ID, we pass in an integer, and then we want a character, right? That is our data class. At the moment it's just the ID and name, but obviously it would be built out with the rest of the data that comes back from the API. And so we can just very simply here switch to our IO scope, and then simply with our network client just call get. We pass in basically what type we want to fetch here, right? So if this was a string instead, this would start freaking out, but then you can just say get string here and then it would work. So the way this get function is configured, it allows you to pass in a T, basically any type that you're interested in, and it will fetch, it'll hit this endpoint, and it will try to cast the response as this object. So pretty interesting. I thought it was kind of powerful in the sense that it looks really simple and it looks clean. We don't have to deal with the interfaces that we do with retrofit and that kind of stuff. I'm sure there's a way to come up with a base URL and all that kind of stuff, so we don't always have to pass that in, but we'll look at that in the future. All right, so Madi, if you have any additional information that you want to share about that technical interview, feel free. I could probably provide a little bit more insight. But let's see. Even if you don't, yeah, I don't know. It's a little tough to say without having some insight into what your actual interview is going to be like. But I would say something. I don't even know, man. That's difficult to talk to. If it's an Android-based thing, hopefully the interview itself is going to be more what I call domain knowledge, right? So it's going to be more, hey, do you know how to implement a recycler view? Do you know how Compose works? Do you know why Compose is better than XML? Do you know how to write to shared preferences? Hopefully it's more specific to the Android ecosystem than it is to, just the overall algorithms and data structures class or interview. I find those incredibly annoying because, to be honest, I've been working with Android for a little bit now, and I've never used a tree, the tree, the data structure. And realistically, the only structure I use frequently, or structures that I use frequently, are lists and maps. And basically with the combination of those two, you can do anything that you need, right? Especially on mobile, everything is very list driven, right? The user is scrolling through news feed. The user is interacting with one page, which is basically just the detail view of one of the elements in the list that they were just scrolling through. So very rarely do you need to be using these very abstract or very difficult data structures to work with to get your thing to function properly. And realistically, even when it comes to writing algorithms, right? You just say list.sort or list.sorted by it.time or something else, right? And then that's it. You don't need to write the actual sort algorithm yourself. That's kind of silly, right? You're going to do it wrong. You just use the one that's built into the library. So hopefully the interview process is more along the lines of the domain knowledge, and then you can kind of just focus on Android specific things. And to me, that's really, assuming your interview is for an Android development role, that mattered to me a lot more when I was going through the interview process, and then flip side, doing the interviews now for people. So hope that helps. Any additional questions, feel free to drop them in chat. But yeah, how's everybody else doing? I guess good afternoon, good morning. I don't know what time it is. 9:30 in the morning for me, so good day. All right. Let's see. What should we do here? Let's see. Well, I quite like the. Let's see here. Let's see. So walking through a little bit of how this works. Again, the app composable is what ends up running. We have our nav items here; those directly correspond to all of these, right? In that order and whatnot. You could see in certain cases, the content here is actually changing, right? Reacting to different selections here in this nav section. So, in order for that to happen, we have created a nav bar, composable here, and we fed in the nav items to it. And if we take a look, our nav item is just a list of strings. Our current page is a string, and then we have an onClick here, which is just a lambda, a function that's going to take in a string and return nothing. So if we take a look at our nav items here, we have them set inside of a lazy column, which is super helpful. Basically inside of the lazy column, we can just say items equals nav items. The key is going to be it. Yeah, the key in this case isn't super critical. We have a very small list. But then each item, right, is then going to be a nav item. If we quickly take a look here, it's just a very straightforward composable here. We have a box, we have a text here that just kind of spits out the title. And then there's a little bit of logic here on the is selected, right? So we can see here that the background color of the box here, if it is selected, we use our primary. Otherwise, we use our on primary color. And I tried doing a little bit of theming. I think it's getting a little out of hand, so I don't want to dive too deep into the theming side of things. But you can clearly see here that if we are selected material theme.colors.primary, our primary is this deeper green, and then the on primary is this lighter green. That you can see this little text is in there, the whole background of this container is there, the text, that is all the on primary color. And so as we go ahead and click to the different ones, you could see that kind of changing. Not really worrying about this right-hand side here. Let's just worry about this nav bar. You could see that the content there is changing. We also have a little bit extra here. We say the font weight, if it is selected, we change it to bold, otherwise we're light. And then as well, the color of the actual text also has to change, right? Because our background changes, we have to kind of invert the colors a little bit. So you can see here, hopefully you can see, I don't know exactly how the stream is coming out on your phone or your computer, but hopefully you can see here that the text episodes is a bit bolder than the text characters. And if we end up just looking at the text characters, as I click it, you can kind of see that it does get a little bit bolder, or it unbolds and that kind of stuff. So this is why I really, really like Compose, because it allows you to worry about these micro interactions. And by micro interactions, it means like, okay, this element is selected. That means we want to change the background color. That means we want to change the font. That means we might want to change something else about the font weight, whatever the case is, even the font size. That might be a little jarring to the user, but whatever, right? All these micro interactions can very easily be described inside of, these little composable functions, right? And at the end of the day, all we really needed was the title, is this thing selected or not, and then a click listener to basically just bubble up the event that says, hey, this element was clicked, right? And obviously in the event that you click characters multiple times, like nothing's going to happen in the UI because, that's already selected. But as we kind of bounce around, you'll see it does change, which element is selected here. We'll get to this in a second, but just looking at the nav bar, you can see the interactions changing, right? So let's follow this logic up a little bit. We have a clickable on our modifier. We just simply call our onClick. So if we go back to where our nav item is described, This onClick that we pass into the nav item is actually another onClick with it passed in. It is the title in this case, and that is the onClick here from the entire nav bar that we've selected here. Or sorry, the lambda that we added into this whole nav bar composable. If we take a look at our nav bar composable, which again is inside of the top level application here, we have an onClick defined where we say page equals it. And page over here is the state of which is selected, basically, right? And first it starts as a mutable state of characters, and that is the first element in our nav items. Obviously this isn't the most robust way of doing something, but it works for now, right? And basically as we select around, we're changing the value of page here. And by doing so, when it is stored as this mutable state of, it will trigger a recomposition, right? Just like how Android works, it's just compose. It will trigger a recomposition of anything that uses page. And so the nav bar uses page, and let's see, the actual rest of the page also uses page, right? Because it's going to have the text here be the page. I added in a network call, so if we have data first, we go ahead and display that data, otherwise we resort back to the page. So let me just go ahead and delete that really quickly and rerun this. Now it simply just says what the nav bar has selected. So if we flip around here, we see search, right? We see nav item 4, nav item 5, right? So not only is this changing, but now we can very clearly see that it is also impacting the content. Even this page as well, which I want to get into in a tiny bit because that's pretty cool. But we can see that not only does this change, but also our content page there. And ideally, instead of just spitting out, text that has the actual the name of the page that is selected, we can then just add in a completely different composable, right? If page equals characters, add in the characters page composable, right? And then this is going to update to whatever we end up looking, right? The whole screen is just going to simply change. Right now it's a very simple example of just changing the text, but realistically what it's doing is, changing a composable, and we can make a much more detailed composable to make this feel like a fluid application, which is really, really cool. So, yeah, so the nav bar ends up changing because it's listening to page. So does this, content box thing that's over here. And then the beauty of Compose, right, that we've kind of hopefully uncovered and you've seen, you can just have this, this linear logic, declarative UI just kind of working hand in hand to build an interesting UI for you here, right? So then this says if our page equals episodes, then we add in, a little bit of a spacer here. Let's see. Yeah, fill max height with 2dp, that's the vertical space. And then we add in another box that has the text details, right? And so that is how we end up with this split view here, right? So it's just one, it's still all inside of this row here. That's why this ends up working. This whole page is viewed as a row, and so the nav bar is the first thing in the row, and then you have your content box here. By adding in and working with, I think I work with the weights here. This second box has a modifier weight of 1f, along with this box here, which is the primary one that says episodes in this case. This also has a weight of 1f. And by having a weight of 1f and a weight of 1f, the system then says, okay, these things are supposed to take up the exact amount of, the same amount of room in this overall available space. So then you can kind of end up with some, this splitting nature pretty nicely. If we were to change this to a 2 instead of a 1, and this is the main content page, the one that's going to say details, you'll now see, or episodes, excuse me, you'll now see this takes up 2/3 of the overall width, right? Because this has weight 2, this has weight 1. Therefore, the system says, okay, this whole thing has a weight of 3, and this one is supposed to take up 2 out of the 3. That's how you get 2/3. That's why you end up having it look like this, right? And then, again, if you saw earlier in the stream, this just very nicely scales as you move things around, because we're working with weights, because we're working with compose. We don't have to worry about XML and all that kind of grossness. So this just really feels incredibly powerful on the compose front, but just in just how fluid it is. Just simply having a nice little if statement here, it's so powerful. It's honestly changed the way I've thought about designing UIs completely, because it's no longer everything needs to be in XML and everything needs to be declared ahead of time. Now you can really utilize data to shape the way your UI looks. And bounce over here to a little bit of bounce over here to some of the chat here, just to make sure that we're keeping up to date, because I'm sorry I don't know how to get the chat as well. All right, so let's see. Madi says, I'll attend as a junior Android developer. I know some concepts such as Hilt, Kotlin, Retrofit, but job also requires MVVM, MVI, Compose. I'm a little nervous. The CEO loves me. That's awesome. I love their app, so I have hope. Thanks for helping, of course. Sarajit, how you doing? B. Radis, what's going on? What's going on, man? Thank you for coming by. Also saw you watching some recent videos. Follow me on Instagram and such, so nice to connect up with you. I guess you should scroll down a little bit. Oh, damn. Sorry if some of that was off screen. 7 a.m. That is some dedication, my man. Thank you for doing that. I haven't had coffee yet either, but it's only 9:45, so 7 a.m. is tough. What's your opinion on testing and Android development? Which tools you use in your project? What do you think is important to know in terms of testing? Also wanted to ask you, share the project you're looking at right now. Really interested. I believe it's going to be uploaded soon. Yeah, so this is, let me answer this question quick, Vlad, and then I'll come back to you, Madi, because I got a couple notes there. This is something that I've been working on just recently. Haven't made any content on it yet. This stream was going to hopefully kind of clean this up and get it into a point of where I can kind of communicate what we've been doing here so far into a video. So this stuff will come into a video pretty shortly. Hopefully. I've been so busy, man. I'm sorry. I feel like I've been slacking on you guys, but there should be content soon, and once that first video drops, it'll be available on GitHub, and I'll send the link and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we'll definitely have that out there. So Madi, I just want to talk about some of your notes there. Junior Android dev, concepts such as Hilt, Kotlin, Retrofit. But then what you said is it also requires basically architectural knowledge and compose. Okay. So, not to just plug my channel, but if you are looking for MVVM or MVI content, the Rick and Morty is a pretty good example of MVVM, and the e-commerce app is a really good example of MVI. Side note, MVI is my new favorite architecture, especially with the power of Flow, especially with the power of Compose. The architecture, Flow, and Compose work so well together. It honestly feels like you're cheating. It's really that good. Hey, Mert Mac, thanks for jumping in. So I would take a look at those episodes, or those those videos, those playlists, if you're looking for reasonable architecture changes and such. Compose. It's interesting that a junior Android dev position requires Compose. I feel like that's a little heavy-handed in my opinion. But it's not the worst thing in the world to have Compose knowledge. I would say I would say you can go through the Google Code Labs. I've done a tiny bit of work on it. I kind of walk through the Code Labs here in this playlist. So you can kind of watch me go through the go through the Code Lab, and it kind of works out well. I started a small playlist where we kind of tried to mimic specific UI elements within Compose, so that was actually pretty fun. I think the Gmail one came out really, really good. I love the way that looks. Otherwise, it's probably just worth it to try and take a look at something that already exists that you have, a project in XML, and just try to mimic it with Compose, right? The beauty of Compose in its current state, you can definitely add it into existing projects that use XML, and you can rebuild screens with Compose. It is a little bit of a learning curve, especially with all like the modifiers and all of the additional, it is in some ways it is its own syntax, right? That you need to kind of learn to actually get the components to function the way that you want them to. Sometimes it's frustrating. The only downside that I've seen so far is that Compose is still so new and it's still changing. As in, like, Google developers are producing more and more updates to it, which is great, but it's so new that sometimes you have a niche problem that isn't necessarily on Stack Overflow with like 500 answers to it already, so it can get a little difficult to find resources at times. I think YouTube might be a better approach for it, right? I think that guy Philip Lochner probably has a lot of content on it. I'm sure there's others out there as well that have, specific Compose content there, but straight up Googling stuff sometimes makes it a little bit more difficult. So, best of luck. I'm going to be doing everything in Compose from now on the channel, though, so if you stick with me, you'll see more and more content, in Compose, which is cool. Any minimum SDK requirement for Compose, like iOS using SwiftUI starting from iOS 13? Well, here we go. Minimum SDK requirement for Jetpack Compose, API level 21. I believe that's Android 5, if I remember correctly. But there you go, 21 or higher. So 5 at this point, that goes pretty far back. I think we're at 32 or 33 in the fall. So 21 is pretty far back. It basically works with everything that you're interested in building, so shouldn't be much of a concern. Looking forward to the new Compose content. Yeah, thank you, Marty. I'm happy that I can help. I hope it helps. Good luck with your interview. I'm happy that you are interviewing, right? You said the CEO loves you, so that should help. A lot of interviewing is just practice, right? I remember quite vividly, trying to get my first job in New York. I probably went on 20 to 30 different networking calls, just meeting people, not necessarily actually interviewing with them, and then probably another 10 to 15 interviews before I ended up finding something that ended up working for me. And the largest thing that I remember from that whole process is the job that I ended up getting, the place that I landed on. It wasn't until I was about 2/3 of the way through the interview that I stopped and thought to myself, oh shit, I'm on an interview right now. I had been doing so much networking and so much interviewing that I kind of blended the two together and kind of forgot about the interview nerves. And I think that's really important, because people at all levels, whether you're a junior member, a more senior member, and even be above, right? If someone's interviewing for a CEO role, well, if it's the first time they're interviewing for that role, they're not going to know the questions. They're not going to know, they might have an idea, but they're not going to know, the ins and outs of how the interview works, what's interesting to bring up, what isn't interesting to bring up, what's worth trying to figure out what's not worth trying to figure out and that kind of stuff, you know. So point is practice, practice, practice. For myself, I completely forgot I was on the interview, and I think that was a testament to just how comfortable I felt talking about myself, how comfortable I felt trying to solve a problem or whiteboard a problem in a room, or you know, just sell myself, right? Because that's what you're doing during the interview process. You're basically selling yourself and trying to come up with a reason why they should hire you over someone else. So I think you know, it took a little while for myself, but once we got there, then it was kind of it was a lot easier, you know, once you get over that hump. So stick with it. If you get a no here, if you've gotten no's in the past, I mean, everyone has, right? I sure as hell did, and I'm sure people on this channel have before, and even in this chat have failed interviews before. Like, if you're not failing, you're not pushing yourself hard enough, right? Is kind of the way I look at it. So definitely don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to get something wrong. More importantly, don't be afraid to ask for help, right? I think every interview that I ended up failing, or they just said, oh, we're going to go with a different candidate, I always reached out and said, cool, you know, can you tell me why? Can you tell me what I did wrong? Can you tell me what I could have done better, right? Use each opportunity as a learning opportunity. And if you do that, you'll just be better and better and better, and eventually something will fall. So it helps that the CEO knows you and likes you. That's a pretty, you know, fun, interesting, nice, takes the nerves off a tiny bit, but otherwise just keep going. So I'm kind of thinking about building some of these. Keep the chat flowing, by the way. Thank you guys. I'll keep bouncing back and forth and taking a look at the chat to make sure I'm not missing anything. Sorry, where is it? You know, for the actual content, if we're interested in anything coding related, I'd like to probably make these, right? There's already a little bit of a UI built out here. We built something kind of similar on the mobile application when we built out that app, but we didn't have as much real estate, right? Because we are we were on a phone, so we didn't really have enough room for all this kind of stuff for it to look good. So here on the desktop version, we have a bit more real estate to work with, so I think this UI is going to be better. So I think, first things first, because I've worked with this API before, so in order to get the last known location and the first scene in, those are, like, it comes together to be really nice, but we first need to make a network call to get the character. Then we need to make a network call to get the location. And then we need to make another network call to find the first episode that they were in and get the name of that episode. So this card here that you see has at least 3 API calls to bring all of this together. So I think we're going to start a little simpler just to get something on the screen, not have to manage all the networking calls at the moment. But maybe we'll go with the image, and we'll go with the name. Let's see what else we have here. If we take a look at our documentation, get a single character. So we have the status here, alive on the character. That's really helpful. We have our species, type, gender, origin, location. We have the image here. That's helpful. And then we have the episode. Yeah, so you can see here that in order to get the first scene in information, we need to hit this endpoint, and we need to fetch an episode, a single episode, and then we need to use the name here that exists on that response. So we can do it. It's definitely not super difficult, but it's just a lot to try to tackle all at once. So I think we're just going to go ahead and work with the first one here. I'm just trying to grab Morty Smith here. Let's see. We do have a very gross implementation, but basically as the app boots up, we do... this is probably making multiple network calls, is it not? Character fetch. It's not because of the cache. Okay, interesting. Wait, so let's take this out and rerun it. And I think I made a fatal flaw, folks, but it was working out because I put a caching layer in. So 2 seconds goes by and the network call goes through. If I click this, oh, interesting. So it's not, it is smart enough to not recompose. Wow, so it doesn't recompose the whole thing, it just recomposes. Okay, never mind. We'll leave the cache in there because it is pretty cool, but the fatal flaw I was considering I made does not seem to be true. I was thinking that as page changes here, that this whole composable would re-update, and that is false, right? The whole app composable isn't going to run again, just the composables that are using page, right? So then the nav bar gets recomposed, this box over here gets recomposed, and any of that stuff down there gets recomposed, not the entire app gets recomposed, because if it did, this would be firing off an API call every single time we changed which nav item was selected. So I'm happy that we're avoiding that, but the point is we do have, we are fetching some data, right? And at first, it is a mutable state of string, nullable, and it is null. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna change this to be a character, a nullable character, of course. And then we're just gonna not call .name, and then we're gonna have our data there. And so here, let me think for a couple seconds how I want to do this, but all right, I think the first thing I want to do is slightly clean this up, right? In the sense that right now in our row, we're just always creating a box here, and it's not really super scalable. We're also just having a string list of nav items. So I think what we're going to do here is we're going to simply create a nav item data class. We're going to have a title here that is a string. I think this is why I left it as strings, because it's kind of silly otherwise. Yeah, we don't really need much else. All right, never mind. Never mind. This is all the content that you guys don't see because I end up cutting this kind of stuff out. But point is, I want to do a when statement here, and we're going to say when page, right? And then we're going to say characters, and we're going to have, you know, characters screen, right? We're going to kind of do this a bunch for all the different things. And then search, and then let's just do an else block here, and in the else block we're just going to put this thing we've already created. So character screen, then we're obviously going to have the episode screen, and then we're going to have our search screen. So this is kind of what I was talking about, where we can very easily swap out the content here, right? This side, we can very easily swap that out, completely different composables based upon what is selected here. So I think that's super cool. I think that's incredibly powerful. We're just going to comment that out for now. And let's create some of these. So again, of course, as always, these, I'm going to finally not create this in our just in this one big file here. I'm going to create character screen. This is going to be an at composable function character. Can I space that? Nice. Cool. And then we're just gonna have to redo this for a few others, right? We're gonna have the, what else we got? episode screen. And we have the search screen. Cool. Our composable function search screen. And this guy is going to be copy all that except episode screen. Episodes screen. Cool. Right? And now these pages are going to be added in based upon which page we have selected here, right? So on the character screen, we're also going to pass in data. And data here is the mutable state of a nullable character, right? Because at first we have a delay here for 2 seconds, 2,000 milliseconds, and then we fetch our data here via our character fetcher. Okay, this is the error. Right, so obviously character screen does not have anything at the moment, so we'll add in a character nullable, and then let's just simply take, where are we? Simply take this, go to our character screen. We don't need to wait anymore. Background is going to be the background. Content alignment is going to be center. And text is going to be let's do a character question mark dot let, and then otherwise we will add in our loading state. This will be a different composable, which is a private function loading state, and simply just say loading, right? And then in here we can actually build out our character. Now not our character, our UI, right? And we're interested in the UI looking something like this, right? I think that's pretty cool, looks really good, and is going to be a fantastic compose exercise. Before I jump into that, I do just want to jump back over to the live stream here, the chat here. Scale up the resolution, kind of hard to watch on mobile. Absolutely. Let me do that. I didn't do all of my due diligence to make everything perfect before the stream, so I can do that. Good to know, Sebastian, not an issue. Abdullahi? Hey? Sorry if I pronounced it wrong. Stream on Twitch. There's one guy who streams Android out there. Oh, is that right? Can you make a modularization with Jetpack Compose? Can I do it right now? No. But yes, it is possible. Imam, if you're still here, I'd love to know what exactly you're thinking about with modularization. You're talking about like actually different modules inside of the project, or are you talking about like UI modularization, which Jetpack Compose kind of gives you already, right? You build these reusable components, and you can kind of go from there. So let me know if you have a little bit additional information, you want to do it. Separate module, yep, of course. Yeah, absolutely. The modularization of a project, an Android project, any project, is independent of the Jetpack Compose, like whether you're using Compose, whether you're using XML, whatever the case is, right? It's just the idea of kind of breaking apart different packages and such for a variety of use cases. It starts to lend itself really nicely to sharing modules across multiple projects, or let's say like you had every time you start an Android project, right, you always, not always, but you typically need, like a networking layer, right? You typically need, maybe some resources or some basic things, right? Like you want a loading view, you want an empty state, you want logging, you want networking related things, right? You could always, at least when I started, I always found myself copying and pasting content from previous projects and just putting it in there and then moving along from there. You could actually rip that out as its own module, and that could be like your personal like base module, right? And then you can just import that module into all these different projects that you end up using, right? So you don't have to kind of redo everything. So yes, can you do it? Absolutely. Can I do it right now? That wasn't what I was going to focus on, but it would be an interesting topic in the future, so I could definitely make some content on it, for sure. But yeah, it sounds scarier than it is as opposed to the difficulty level. I did want to come back to something. Vlad had mentioned testing in Android development. For the longest time, I didn't write tests, and mainly because of the learning curve. I didn't necessarily have the confidence to know how to write the tests and what to test for and all that kind of stuff. That has changed recently, and I think the most important thing with testing is not writing the actual tests. Sure, they're nice, they might catch something here or there, but the real power in testing comes from how it forces you to write your code, and structure your code, because even when I had first started and for many years, the code I was writing was simply not testable. And not testable code doesn't mature well, right? In the sense that if 2, 3, 4, 5 other people join the project, now it becomes quite difficult, right? If you're working by yourself, you don't need to write tests because you've written all the code, you know how it works, and blah blah blah. And you're confident that you can go ahead and change it and not break something. But when you have other people start joining projects and your code isn't testable, it makes it pretty difficult for other people to confidently change the code base without thinking, oh god, I'm going to mess something up, I'm going to screw something up. So the thing for me why I like testing now isn't for the actual tests. It is mainly because of the way that it makes you structure your code. Let's see, I don't know if I have a good example. I don't have a good example of this right now. Okay, wait. Where is... hold on. Okay. Our e-commerce app. Let's see. Let me add up. I'm gonna try to remember to increase the font size for you guys. What were these? I gotta find a file because okay. Okay. So let me just take it out of there, put it in here. Let's just forget @inject constructor, and then I gotta do some stuff. What is it called? Current. What is this supposed to be? Found set, required mutable set. What? Okay, cool. All right, so that all works. Let me also let me update this. Where would our settings be? Okay. Sorry, settings, font. Let's go with like 22. Is that any better? Okay. Hopefully that's a little bit better for you. So let's take this class for example here, the UI product favorite updater. The idea here was there was a UI interaction inside of the code that had a little heart, icon in the UI, right? And as the user tapped that heart, it would either favorite the item, right, kind of fill that heart in, or it would unfavorite it if it was already favorited, right? So a very simple, very straightforward interaction. And this was the class that took care of that operation. And now this is inside of the MVI pattern. So there's this concept of a current state or an application state, your store, whatever you want to call it, right? And this is basically represented as a data class. And inside of the data class, obviously there's a lot other things in here, but one of the things we had was a set of integers, and these were the IDs of any of the products that the user had favorited, right? So if you're missing out on some of the details, you haven't seen that content, hey, go watch the videos. They are the e-commerce ones up here, this purple banner here, season 10, really, really good stuff. But point is, there is one public function here on this class that takes care of doing that, right? And the reason I created a class here, and if you saw when I first pasted it in, it had @inject constructor, it was using Hilt and whatnot, is this functionality that we cared for, right? The idea of favoriting multiple products was applicable to many different pages within the app, right? So instead of everywhere on every screen, in every fragment, in every view model where we wanted to have that interaction and basically have to copy and paste this code, we instead created a class that could just be injected into the view model, and at any point when the user interacted with an item, they could just simply call this function and it would update the state accordingly, and all is good and well. Really good idea for just separation of concerns, reusability, just good programming patterns, right? But the most important part about this function, why I like it, is it's very, very testable, right? The function is given, and I just want to flip over. I want to make sure everybody can see. Yeah, it looks like it should be fine. This function was given two inputs, right? It was given the selected product ID, and it was given the current state of the application, and it was asked to return a new state of the application with basically this, this set in the application state kind of updated, right? And if we take a look at what it's doing, it's very straightforward, right? It's basically like 5-6 lines of code. It fetches the current product IDs. It says if the product IDs contains this product ID, then we basically remove it from the set. Otherwise, we add it to the set, and then we take this new favorite ID set and we just copy it into the state, right? It's a very, very measurable, very simple interaction. This in and of itself or by itself isn't going to make the whole application work, but it made that one feature work, right? Of being able to favorite or unfavorite an item. Having it all inside of one class, having it all cleanly written inside of one function allows you to test this very easily, like in a unit test, right? You could simply create, a fake application state, and you could simply create an integer here, and you can have the test run, right? Obviously not going to be able to run it. Hold on a second. This is not an Android project, so I'm not entirely sure if this is the best idea. No, I have to import libraries and such to do this anyway, actually, to like assert things and whatnot. So sorry, I'm not actually going to write the test right now because it would be a little bit of a journey. But let's just pretend for a hot second you can have, class your test. There would be some function, can you do it? Yeah, you can. Test product was updated accordingly. You'd probably give it a better name here. If you didn't know, you can actually, it's helpful for tests, you can actually write inside of single quotes here, just like a regular string, and that's just the name of your test. The name of your function. And so for testing, it's really nice because, it's not, you're normally writing very verbose, function names. So it's nice to actually be able to write something out in English as opposed to, the camel case or snake case or whatever. Okay, so let's say our old state is going to be an application state where the favorite product IDs is going to be a set of 1, 2, 3, right? And then we're going to say val product to be updated is ID 10, right? The idea with the test is that you would then say our updater is going to be a UI product favorite updater, and you're going to be able to say updater.update with the product ID to be updated and the old state. That's going to run this code here on these given parameters, right? And then basically what you want to do, I guess we could do it with a require block. A require block saying old state dot favorite product IDs dot contains 10, right? Hopefully this is making sense, but given a previous state of 1, 2, and 3 being favorited, the user clicks on item 10. We then run our code through this UI product favorite updater, the update function specifically, passing in the correct information, and then, it's actually going to be, it returns the new state. So the new state is going to be the response, right? Because this is returning something. So the new state is going to come out of the updater, and then we're just going to require that the new state favorite product IDs contains 10, right? Because they've added 10 in, and it did not previously exist. If this was 3, right, this logic says if it currently contains that ID, then we remove it from the list and we copy that in. So then this should say does not contain 3, right? And realistically, the length of our new state should be size 2, right? We could also say that. We could say require the new state, the size equals 2, right? So we want to make sure that it doesn't have 3 and the size is 2. So we want to make sure that given 1, 2, and 3 passed in, that it then removes it and basically it looks like that instead, right? So this is basically the concept of how to write tests, right? And so in order to, I'm going to pause right there because I'm just like demoing on the fly. Hopefully this makes sense. Also, the video is only 720p. Stream is healthy. I think it should be higher. Try getting higher if you're only at 720, or if anyone else is running the stream at a little bit higher than that. Hopefully you can provide some insight. But the idea here is that the testing concept, you want to create an initial state. You want to run your code through, the code that you've written, and then you want to evaluate it afterwards. And in this case here, it's very straightforward that we're just taking a particular state, modifying it via the updater, and then we can just evaluate it after the fact. And that's only because this function here is written the way that it was, right? And or is written cleanly, simply, pretty straightforward, and you know, when it comes to where you actually end up using this class, you end up using it in a bunch of different view models, so you're not duplicating the code, right? You're just kind of injecting this bit of functionality into areas of the code base that need it, and then, you know, you kind of you just reuse this update function and all that kind of stuff. So, a long-winded way to say that in order to write this test, right, you need to have this functionality encapsulated inside of this update function or inside of a particular class or whatever the case is. And if you take a look at this class, it's very simple, it's very straightforward, it's very reusable. If someone wants to modify it, they can very easily come in here and like have pretty good, you know, confidence because it's simple enough, it's small enough code that if they go ahead and change it, that they're not going to break anything. And even if they did break something, you still have those tests there in the code base. So obviously when you run the tests, you know, this test might fail because, oh, they're no longer, you know, keeping, you know, they've made something invalid. Their change actually would mess something up. So in that case, your test kind of does help you have like guardrails in place to say, you know, like we need this to be the output after this function runs. So people have the confidence that, you know, if the test ran before they changed it and it ran after they changed it, it will, you know, it'll allow them to feel confident that they didn't break anything. So, hopefully that helps. Let me know if it does. Maybe testing is something I should probably make more of content on, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. All right, so bouncing back here to our little bit of a compose exercise here. I know we've lost a couple of people, but we're going to keep going on. We've got probably about another hour here of the stream. If anyone is interested, we got to make this little UI here, right? So let's see. Let's just start with a column here. So let's just go with, well, in this case, it's just a simple character. So we don't have a full list yet, but we're going to have a box that has a modifier of, I don't know, let's put a height of like 200 dp. Let's see, and then a background of, that's kind of annoying. Okay, so it's going to look a little bit different. It's just going to be the dark. Let's see. Theme, colors, is this? It's not background, right? Because background is something else. Let's get rid of that and that. No, I need main. Our background, right. All right, let's see if that's the background. This is why I didn't want to do this, because I don't want to be fidgeting with colors while trying to figure this out. Let's just do a row instead, right? Because what's this? We're gonna have an image. Oh man. Alright, well, we're going to need to have an image, but for now we're just going to put a fill max height. What is that a float? Okay, aspect ratio 1, And then afterwards, we're going to have a column here, and this column is going to have, let's see, the text in it. That's going to say text equals it.name. That's fine. Color is going to be our material theme. Colors dot on primary. And let's see, our font size is going to be, let's go with like 18 SP. Should start with lowercase. No, I don't want to do that. I should actually change this to be not lowercase. All right, let's see what happens. Let's see how that looks. Oh, this is gonna have to be loading. Okay, gross, absolutely, that's what I thought, but we're getting somewhere. So let's see, let's do background color equals color dot red. Let's see that, and then this is so silly. I love how simple rounding corners is in Compose, but shape is now going to be our rounded corner shape of like 8 dp. Let me see this real quick. Themes, shapes dot. So I think I should be able to do this, right? Shapes dot large. Nice. All right. I think 200 dp. I don't know why this isn't. Oh. It's probably because all right. Column, we obviously need a modifier of our padding here. Let's do the 16.dp and rerun it. Let's see, any additional thoughts here? Anything in the chat? Doesn't look like it. Okay. So Morty Smith coming along. Zero theme colors background, and then we're gonna put, of course, all of this in there. And this should now, okay, starts to look like that. I think this is because we're gonna clip the exact same clip right here. Shift F10 to rerun it. Let's see. Does that clip now? Yes, that clips our red square, which is great. Okay. Alright, that's not bad. That's not bad. Now we need an image loading library. What image loading library should we use? What's the one that starts with a K? Oh no, I think it's C. I think it's Coil, right? Yeah. Backed by Kotlin coroutines. Yep. Alright. We're going to take that. Image.load. Tell me this has. There we go. We need the composed version. We'll take that. Async image with that. Content. Are you kidding me? That's how simple it is? Okay. Okie doke. Sounds good. Let's put that in here. We're just going to say val coil version, because why not? It's going to be 2.3.3. And we're just going to say coil version. Okay. Doesn't seem to be coming up. Let's go ahead and reconfigure that. Alright, so coin here is going to be dependency injection. Ktor is for networking. And coil is for image loading. It's pretty slick, to be honest. It's pretty slick. Okay, so now our character screen, if we go here, we say why is async image not coming up? Did we not just fetch it? I'm confused. Why did that not work? Well, do we have it over here? Okay, we have it. Okay, so we have the library. Why is async what am I missing? Oh. No, it has coil there. What am I missing, guys? Anyone? The default artifact, which depends on coil KT coil base. But it's right there, coil KT coil. Anybody know what I'm missing out here? Yeah, what's up, Wrecker? I am, and at the moment, let me rerun it, but we are doing a desktop compose version of it, which is pretty cool. So it should, should look the same as far as have the same, what's it called? Same endpoints, same data, and all that kind of stuff, which is helpful because people that are like yourself who've watched the channel kind of already know, what's happening and what's there. And now we're just going to make a little desktop app out of it, which is pretty cool. So, trying to make a primitive version of this UI here, and having issues with our image loading library. All else fails, restart it. Yeah, that is always an option, but like, no way. You know what I mean? Like, come on. How? I mean, I shouldn't need to do this because it's already there. So we're just gonna do. Okay. Sync the damn project. Fetch it. I mean, that worked. Like, we have coil in here. I can see it. And so then coil compose, watch, it's gonna... wait a second, it's... Interesting. So it's an AAR file, and it seems like it's the only one in this No, it's not. There we go. Okay, I was gonna say. But like, okay, tracing AAR, like it has it. Like, what? Why is this not working? Alright, I think you're right. We're gonna relaunch it, see what happens. If that solves it, you know, like, whatever else. Alright, are we there? Cool. Cool. No clue why. This coil. There are no plans to add it. Oh. Oh, the plan to close initial alpha, iterate on the public changes. Interesting. Okay. So they just straight up don't have support for it at the moment. So that's cool. I guess we know why it's not working. Multi-platform image loading. What am I supposed to use? Compose image library for multi-platform. Oh man, this doesn't look friendly at all. Yeah. It's like Camel doesn't support iOS though. Let's see, is it the dependencies common source set? Oh, it uses KTOR, okay. Lazy Painter resource. Okay, that's kind of cool. Alright, let's see. camel. Alright, are we gonna, let's see how this goes. Hey, we got a couple of viewers back. What's going on, chat? How's everybody doing? Hopefully it's Saturday for everyone. Weekend is here. Just trying to work on a little bit of our image loading inside of a Compose multi-platform. What was it called? Lazy Painter resource. Heyo, it's there. And let's see. Data is URL. So let's go with that one. Except we're going to use, obviously, it dot. Oh. We're gonna go with image URL. Add that one in. Okay, we need to now update our character class because we only have that ID and name. Let's see, what does this look like with the documentation? ID, name, URL. Okay, should be a string. Let's just go with URL. Let's see how that works. Oh, shit, sorry. That's not going to do it. Wait a second, what is Lazy Painter resource? Yeah, a resource. Loads a painter resource asynchronously, okay. But like how? It's a resource of a painter. Like, what do you? Okay, wait. So can you just add this? You add this into like an image, and you say painter equals this. Oh, wow. No, that didn't work. Found a resource of painter, then what do you do? Painter? Alright, working with a library for the first time. How do we do it? Can be used to load this. Returns a resource painter object which can be used to display the image using, a camel image composable. Okay. Where is that? Request builder. Oh, nice. Okay, so then it's just camel image. Cool. And instead of resource, instead of painter, it is now resource. And let's just go with character image. Okay. Now we're gonna do this as well. Sorry. I'm gonna cut that out. Aspect ratio 1F. Let's see how that works. All right. That failed. That seemed to fail for sure. Where is the, okay, so URL. Oh, it's not URL, that's why. Jesus, sorry, folks. I can't read the docs appropriately. It's image. That's what it's called, not URL. URL is the URL for this entire API call. Alrighty. So that'll just be called image. I'm gonna go back here, and this will be image. Alright. Now let's see. Nice. Nice, 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 nice. We have Morty Smith. That's slowly coming together. Slowly but surely coming together. Now, I didn't really like how it jumped. Yeah, see, so because it like stays as Morty Smith, then the image loads in because that's obviously an asynchronous operation. So, how do we manage the loading state of that? Lazy Painter resource. So fill max height. I guess. Now, why isn't the aspect ratio taking over? Let's see. Anything new in chat? I don't know if my previous message got sent, but have you tried Landscapist from Skydoves? No. What is I'm gonna copy that right now, paste it into Google. Hopefully it's not anything. Highly optimized pluggable Jetpack Compose image loading solution that fetches and displays network image with Glide, Coil, and Fresca. Whoa. I didn't see your message before. Thank you for sharing now. Have you used this before? Is this... Holy shit. This looks way better than whatever the hell I just used. Now, Brightblade, have you used it in a Compose multi-platform? As we get Glide, Coil, Fresco. Request the size. That looks nice. Custom composals, right? Loading. Yeah, this is what I quite like. How you can get like a loading block and then a failure block. Yeah, that's like really nice. I hope Camel has something like that. Oh wow. It can even preview the image. Oh, preview placeholder. I see. It's not fetching the actual image. Okay. This looks pretty cool. A shimmer plugin? Come on. Huh. Circular reveal animation. Palette. Damn. This looks pretty gnarly. Snapshot images of paparazzi. Who's using it? Twitter for Android. Hey now. This is an awesome library. Nope, not yet, unfortunately. Yeah, this is a really cool library, man. Is it something? It's free too. Like you don't even need. Wow, what a beast! This guy built this himself. Good for him. All right. This is. See if I can post it. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, this looks really cool. Thank you for sharing. I'm definitely gonna take a look at it. I'm gonna try to keep going with Camel here, only because I don't know if like landscape. Is there an issue out for? No, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it is. Oh, look at this guy, 10,000 followers. Good for him. I don't know if it's going to work in Kotlin Compose multi-platform, excuse me. So we're going to keep on going here. Oh, yes, it has on loading. Wait. No, it doesn't. I mean, does it? It has... This is a... Oh, it is a composable. Let's go. And it gives you the float, like how far along it is, I guess. And then on failure, it gives you the... Damn, this is pretty cool. That other one was even cooler, not gonna lie. But this serves our purpose, so we're gonna keep going with this one. So on loading, can I just add in loading state? Like, is that gonna look funny? Which is our composable down here that just says loading. I feel like I need to put a breakpoint here or something. Like, how can I slow this down? Lazy painter resource. Camel config, density, resource config, painter resource, collect as state. I'm interested in printing out the float. I'm very interested in what happens there. Wow. Look at that. 0, 0, 0.23, 0.53, and then 1. Like, that's pretty cool, because you could probably make a really cool loading animation with those floats, right? Like some kind of progress bar or something filling up or whatever the case is. That's pretty interesting. Let's go with the, okay, so loading state is one option. I am interested in, what is that called? Like circular progress bar? Yeah. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, so it takes up the whole screen. We definitely don't want that. I don't want to fill max size of the parent, which is going to be the height and the aspect ratio. It's 200 dp. It might need to be. Right, so this just needs to be bigger as well. Okay, well, we're gonna leave it as is for well, actually no, we're gonna remove this because just do 200 dp. It's probably like can you crossfade or something? Content scale alpha, color filter, animation spec. Ooh. Transition by crossfade. Yeah. Alright, we will remove it for now. Anything else going on in the chat? Any plans to try web development with Compose? No. Not at the moment, but I have been working with React a tiny bit recently, and it's very, very similar. I Compose is a little late to the little late to the game in the sense that like it's not the first. There have been plenty of other declarative UI styles that or declarative UI systems that have kind of been popularized, right? Like you got the of course you got React, and then even Swift UI as well, and Jetpack Compose kind of like joining up to them. So I don't have any plans to do it with Compose for web at the moment. Could be an interesting side project, but for now I'm definitely. They're all the same though. They're very very similar whether you want to use React or Compose for the web. I just feel like one of the things with this project that's been slightly annoying is that there's just like a lot of extra config that's not really, it's not the nicest to deal with. It took me way too long to figure out like where to even put these import statements because these files look a little bit different. It's not an Android app, right? And that was what we were predominantly working with. So there's a little extra overhead with these additional projects, which isn't the end of the world, but I'd rather be making content than fighting with the project till I get it the way that I want it to be, so hopefully you can understand. All right. So this is a character. I guess we can continue building that out. Morty Smith. So let's see. Let's make what else does that thing look like over here? Unknown and then human, which I think we have, right? That is the status and then species. So we can add those two elements into our character. Val status, val species. Are these formatted appropriately? Yeah, alive and human. Okay. And then I think alive. What does the next one say? Dead? Like, how do I know? I don't know. How do I know what the possibilities are? Oh, character schema. Oh, that's lovely. Status. The status of the character, alive, dead, or unknown. Okay, cool. So that's helpful as well. Let's see if this can... starting to get a little longer now, so let's make it look like a regular data class. Cool. I'm going to create another val here that is going to be called, like... Well, no, let's not do that there. Let's see our character screen. What else do we need to have here? So the name is there, and then... Nope, that's not what I wanted to look at. We want to look at this. So underneath it, there's that little thing. Right, okay. So we need definitely bigger text, bold, we need a little bit of a circle, and then we have our status and our species and our our little indicator. That's what it's going to be. So the power of compose, let's just go ahead and create that as a composable, right? Nope, that's not what we're looking for. So we're going to break down little elements in our UI. So let's call this thing, Jesus, I don't even know, like, character status indicator. It's going to need a status, which is a string, and a species, which is also a string. So we're going to say val indicator color is going to be when our status, just in case the API ever changes, it's a good idea to always go with like something like lowercase or uppercase so that you can very easily say you can then evaluate things in the lowercase, right? Alive, and then it's going to be color.green. And then, you know, if we have dead, and then it's going to be color.I guess red. And then realistically, we're just going to go with else color.dark gray. Sure. The reason I like to do this lowercase bit here is, you know, we saw in the API docs, right, that it says the status of the character: alive with a capital A, dead with a capital D, or unknown with a lowercase u. Like what? You know, that's already not following the same pattern. That's kind of silly, right? So if at some point this documentation gets out of date, where they start sending alive as a lowercase a, or dead as a lowercase d, or whatever the case is, or they start sending unknown with an uppercase u, right? If you didn't end up calling lowercase here, and you were just going like this, you know, and then just hoping a dead, right? Now your code is susceptible to breaking based on if the backend changes their logic, right? So if they start supplying alive with a lowercase a, now this won't actually trigger, right? And instead it's going to go into the dark gray block. So when you're dealing with strings, it's normally a good idea to lowercase or uppercase, right? And then this would turn into alive like that, right? And you're just looking for the actual, you know, the equality that you can kind of force, you know? So just a little tidbit there. So then we're going to have a row here. Inside the row, we're going to have a box. The modifier is going to be, let's say, modifier.size. I don't know, let's just see what 16 dp looks like. Our background, the color is going to equal the indicator color. The shape is going to equal rounded corner shape 50%. That will make sure that each corner is rounded 50% of the height. So when that happens, it'll be a full circle. So we'll do that. And then we'll simply have our text here, and we will say text equals our status. And then we will have another text element here that looks like this. Not my favorite, but we're just going to do it for simplicity. Text equals species, right? And text equals that. Yep, so we can definitely, let's see, is there an append? No, it's just an imply. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you know, we can put this all into one string, whatever the case is, but easy enough in case we ever want to change anything about any of these elements here. We just have individual texts. So let's see, column here. We'll do that, and we will say our status is going to be it.status, our species is going to be it.species, and probably good enough to run it again. And the it here, in case we missed it, is because we're inside of the character, you know, question mark dot let block. So the it is just the non-null character, and obviously we have some work to be done here. Okay, let's do a bunch of things though, right? Because first we want to probably update this to be like 26 font, and we're going to do the weight of bold, and then in here, yeah, sure, we don't have to make it super, sure. We will do this. Maybe this is not worth it anymore. Let's go with our display text is going to be the status dash, where are we now? Species. We're just going to set this to be display text, just so we don't have to worry about multiple theming multiple different things. Let's go with our font weight. Let's go with a lightweight here, and then let's go with a size of, I don't know, 18 SP or something like that. Don't know why I clicked Control S as if I was saving something. Cool, starting to get there. The green looks a little gross, not gonna lie, but that's all right. We see it is a perfectly rounded circle as we would expect, so that's really, really cool. Let's see here. What else? Alright, let's provide a little bit of padding in between here. We're going to do so with, what is it called? A spacer here. We're going to go with the modifier of the width, and let's go with like 6 dp or something like that. We'll rerun it, and now we should see a little bit more of a gap between there. Yep, so that looks a little bit better. I'm not a super big fan of how off-centered that looks. Why is that? Okay, hold on. Like how? Like it's got to be something with this text here. So if we say modifier dot background, let's just do color dot red. I want to see exactly where the bounds of this box are. Right. So I guess it's this box that is the circle that's not really aligned, right? Doesn't that circle look like it's... Oh, yes, because box. How do we... Aha, row. It should be vertical alignment is going to be alignment.center vertically. Is that what we need? Is that what we're missing? Now that looks a lot better, huh? I know I'm looking for like pixel perfect here, but I don't know if anyone else can even see that. Not sure how it's coming out on the stream. That looks a lot better. Let's see if there's any other comments here. Hey Jamal, thanks for stopping by, my man. I am doing well. You know, we're here on the first stream. We're building out a little bit of, you know, another Rick and Morty project here inside of just regular Jetpack Compose in a Compose multi-platform project. So we are doing well, man. How are you? All right, we definitely don't need that box to be that big, so we're going to trim that down a tiny bit. Cool. All right, that's coming along. I think we can give this guy like, honestly, like 32 size to fit everything. Yeah, right, he's like big. Oh, interesting. And then you can click on that. Ooh, I wonder if we can do something like that with the hover state, change the text or something. Interesting. Okay. All right. So that is pretty good progress on one of the cards there. The last known location, Testicle Monster Dimension, great. First seen in, yeah, so these two other ones look a little, they look similar, right? We can probably create last known location. So maybe we can create this with a different bit of information because we should have gender male, origin. Oh, well, we could probably do what this looks like, right? Last known location. Oh, sorry. Oh, wait, why? Who is this guy? Character 7. trying to find what is, oh, location, testicle monster, dimension, and that's what it is? Yeah, last known location. Okay, so we can probably build out this composable here, and then it's just going to drop right into place with that one as well. So that's really, really fantastic. That might be the last little bit that we do here for the stream. I don't even know how many people are left at this point. Looks like we just got 2. So if you're here, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you've been watching this entire time, thank you, thank you, thank you. But I don't know if you have. Seemed like we got a little bit of a drop off. Probably about an hour in. So yeah, people got other stuff to do. Can't blame them, right? But we're going to continue on here. So let's do the composable function. Let's say character, I don't know, character card detail. Sure. This is going to be the title of it, which is going to be a string. And then there's going to be a value, which is also going to be a string. If we take a look at this UI here, looks like we have a smaller bit of the title, and then we have a bit of the whatever, the value afterwards. So to me, that looks like a column if I've ever seen one. We're going to have 2 texts. We're going to have a text equal a title there, and then we're going to have text equal value here. Let's go with font weight of light on this one. Let's say size is going to be, let's do 16 SP, whereas the size here is going to be like 22 SP. Right, we want it to be a little bit bigger. Yeah, the colors look definitely a little bit nicer here, so that's cool. But let's just see. Okay, so then we'll just have a character card detail. That was honestly, it's probably not perfect, but that's really not that bad of a. It's really not that bad of. It went pretty quick, right? In order to get that, that's why we love compose. So we'll add in here. Okay, it's in here. So we'll do character card detail. We'll say the title. It's going to be last known location, and the value is going to be, I need to update our value here. Sorry, our character class. If we take a look at the JSON structure, we will see that it is a location object that then has name and URL. So we're going to just simply do that. And we're going to create a location object. Nope, we don't want to import any. We're going to create another data class here that's just called location, and it's going to have name and our, what was it, URL if I remember correctly. Can't type right now. Name and URL. Okay, perfect. Yeah, that should do. What? Sounds good. Then we're gonna say it.location.name. Cool. Pretty gnarly, huh? Let's see how it looks. I forgot all the font. Okay, so we're also going to put a little bit of a spacer here. So we're going to put a spacer modifier.height. Let's go with a good old 16 dp because that is pretty damn standard. Then we're just going to need to modify a little bit of the color here, right? So we'll just quickly add that in, and might be in good shape. Cool. Yeah, I'm not crazy in love with that. I think maybe this goes down to like 14. Yeah, it does need to be a different color. That's the other bit. What if we, okay, hold on. What if, how would this look if it was color.white along with the name of the character? Maybe we switch that around to what if that works? Let's see if that does any better. Oh. Well, I think we just don't need, I think this is fine here. But yeah, character card detail. So I think let's go with, let's find one other. I think it might look a little bit better if we create another one as well. So we're just gonna copy and paste that. This will be origin. And I think origin looked, origin name URL. Yep. So that is exactly the same as this. Well, actually, then what am I doing? Silly me, I don't need to create another one. We can just say val origin is going to be a location as well. Duh, we don't need to create another one and rename it origin. Okay, it.origin.name. And let's see how this looks. Origin unknown. What? What do you mean unknown? Isn't it, isn't it Earth? Oh, Morty Smith, the origin name is unknown. That's silly. Yeah, so let's just change this to fetch Rick instead of Morty. Fetch by ID 1 instead, and let's see how the rest of the screen reacts as well. Cool. Hey, that's not looking too bad. You know, that's not looking too bad at all. At least I don't think so, right? I mean, the image is there. Rick Sanchez, a live human, last known location, origin. I mean, I kind of like the way that's shaping up, to be honest. I like the simplicity of the UI. The white and the not white color, I don't know. It's a little interesting, but it's working for now. I'm gonna just go ahead and try to find a random character that maybe has a different, that isn't alive. Yeah, unknown, human, big head Morty. Let's go with like 22, sure. But for anyone that's still sticking around, lovely. Yeah. Oh, cool. Thanks, Ghost. Thanks, Jamal. Looks like I'm here by myself now. I do just want to find someone else. Let's see, character screen. What am I doing? Mean. Come on. Find someone else. 77. Would just love to find someone who is not alive or unknown. Ugh. Alright, Cowboy Rick. Come on, people. Alright. Everyone seems to be alive. I'm sure it'll look fine if they're dead. It'll just be red. But, thank you for dropping in for the stream. Catch you guys in the next one. Oh, what's up, Sarajit? You are back. Thank you for joining. The lone concurrent viewer, it seems. Yes, sir. I do want to move this over here. Actually, no. What if I maybe put it in the corner? And then does that change in the stream? Maybe. I'm sure it does change because I see I have this other thing there. Cool. All right, man. Yeah, I'm gonna cut it here. Solid 2-hour stream. I'll catch you in the next one. Hopefully it was fun. See you, dude.